Hi guys, my name is Darian Ellis, here with the Houston 100, powered by the Minority Report. Today my guest is Miss Lia Watson, owner and CEO of LiaSon Counseling Services. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So please tell our viewers about you and your business and your background.
Like she said, my name is Lia Watson. I am a licensed professional counseling supervisor here in the Houston area. I've been in practice for 7 years. I've been full-time private practice for, it'll be a year in December, so I'm excited about that. Thank you. A lot of my specialty, well, my school licensure specialty is marriage and family. I went to Sam Houston. I got a specialty degree in counseling education and marriage and family. Majority of my clients are both basically couples, minority women. I have a few adolescents as well, mostly dealing with like depression, anxiety, family stress, work to life balance, communication issues, relationship stress. That's mostly what a lot of my clients deal with.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's amazing.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Mental health is everything. And I feel like now I'm very happy that the world is starting to look at mental health as they are prioritizing just like health. Like if I have like a stomach ache, I go to the doctor. So now if like, hey, I'm having a lot of nights where I'm not sleeping, maybe I should call a therapist.
Perfect. You're absolutely right. So tell me, what were your motivations in starting your own private practice as an entrepreneur?
I guess for me, I've always been a free spirit, but then also I guess they can go into my background. I went to school for criminal justice. I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. Then I thought law school was way too much.
Okay.
And then so I started working at this domestic violence shelter, and I was like, oh wow, like talking to people, seeing how like you can encourage them and see how that changes their mood, their thinking styles. And I was like, well, I can get paid to do this. Like, why not? I love to run my mouth. And then so for me, I started off working in the hospital. So, that's like high speed. I learned a lot, but it's like they don't really care about like the growth of the person. It's more of like, let me hit these numbers, let me do this. I worked with a lot of like seasoned therapists. So seeing them like, oh yeah, I've been at the hospital for 10 years. I've been at the school for this long, but I still don't really do therapy. And it's like, well, nah, if I want to be a therapist, I want to do therapy. So for me, that was why like, I'm going to start my own business because I like to be with the clients. Like a lot of people, they like to either just do assessments real quick. Like for me, I like to build relationships, establish rapport, and like see my clients grow.
Perfect. So tell me about your personal challenges with starting your business. Was there issues with funding, or was it just time because you also had to work your 9 to 5? Or
it was mostly, I guess, being a single parent and adjusting to that. My son's school schedule. One of the biggest things for me was also health insurance. Nice. Being able to have that. My son is also, he has like at a time he had a speech impediment as well. So having a job that I had the resources to be able to provide him to be able to go to speech therapy and things like that. So ultimately, and that's another reason why I also want to work for myself, is because I want to be a very active parent. Like right now, I drop my son off at school, I pick him up. Before COVID, I enjoyed like at least once a week, I'm going to come have lunch with you. And so I knew in order for me to be the parent that I wanted to be, that I would need to have my own practice. So for me, the biggest thing was just kind of really health insurance. Yeah. Was in just finding some ways around that. But ultimately, I guess with the private practice, funding isn't as bad because you pay for a space and then like you kind of make your money back tenfold. And like I've always, since I've known I want to do this, I've always had a space already. So I've had the space the whole 7 years, but I just took it over full time within the last year.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what would you say what was the turning point in your business where you knew like, okay, this is for me specifically? Was it that one client that you can remember? Or was it just when you finally like put your name on your business?
I would say it was for me whenever, maybe about 3 years ago, I went part-time at my full-time job. And it was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the people. People are liking me. I'm getting referrals. I'm building a great network. Like I have colleagues who are referring to me. Because for me, my thing was, I was very young in my field. I'm still very young in my field. Like even for me to be a supervisor, a lot of people are like, oh, you're young. And me being a marriage counselor, a lot of people, you're not married, so how are you going to tell me? So for me, at some points, I doubted myself. So it's like when I started seeing the clients coming in, I started building that network, and I felt like building a name for myself. It was like, all right, girl, you got this. Like, you're doing this. Or like, when I saw like, hey, I've had this client for a year. They stay consistent. Like, I must be doing something right if they're coming back. And like, also I'm seeing them grow. Like, hey, sometimes like with my clients, I've seen you for 6 months or something. Like, well, let's go back and look at what were our original goals of therapy and where are we at now? So for me, it was like when I started seeing my clients make progress and then I became more confident within myself, it was like, all right, girl, you got this. You got this.
So I know there's a lot of stigma, especially in the Black community, about therapy and mental health. What have you seen are some of the biggest misconceptions about therapy?
The biggest one is that therapy is for crazy people.
Right.
Or like you have to be going through it to actually have therapy. A lot of people don't look at it as like doing it like, why can't I come up with the word? Like doing it ahead of time. Like, say like how you take vitamins, to make sure that you're not getting sick and you're building your immune system. Like you can go to therapy just because you're not going through a crisis. Or like also a lot of people, especially us in the Black community, aren't really educated on like what's the difference between like a therapist and a psychiatrist. Like I have people like, so you're just gonna give me meds? And I'm like, actually, I can't even prescribe you any medication. Wow. So I don't,
So what I'm hearing and understanding is you don't have to be troubled or necessarily going through anything to go to therapy. You can just go and just basically like a little check-in.
Basically, or even sometimes to unload stuff, because I know we've recently talked about this, like being a minority, just some of those things that are already naturally weighing on us. Like right now, dealing with COVID, dealing with how they're killing Black people. Like, yes, it might not have happened to you or your family member directly, but that still weighs on us as a race. So just dealing with some of that heavy load, like naturally family dynamics. A lot of people have a stressful work environment. So like, yes, I'm not fired. Yes, I'm not going through a breakup, but man, I'm spending 8 to 10 hours at work. I'm not even having time for myself. I'm gaining weight because I'm eating bad, or I'm not having that time with my family. Like that can be what depression looks like. But for us, so long we've been trying to keep going, do it. We don't even really look at it like as depression. Right. Versus like Sally, she's like, oh my God, like, I'm having a panic attack. Let me call my therapist. Versus us, it's like, keep pushing. Like, you're supposed to be able to shake that off. I'm the strong Black woman, so I don't need anybody. I don't need help. I can do this alone. Exactly. Whereas we really sometimes do. Need the unbiased person to decompress. That's one thing that I like to advocate about therapy, because a lot of people are like, well, why can't I go to my pastor, or I can just talk to my friends? A lot of those people usually have stake in a situation, or they're very biased, or they think that they want you to do, like, they want you to do things a certain way. So it's good to go to like a confidential, unbiased person who's not going to have any malicious intent. And for me, my goal is always tell my clients, like, I'm a co-pilot. You telling me where the destination is, my job is to make sure that we stay on course and that we can avoid as many roadblocks, or if we do, we kind of we coast through them. Right, okay. So we know that Black people, and I hate to bring it up, but from slavery, carry a lot of generational trauma, and we don't even realize it sometimes. Why is it so important that the Black community invest in mental health? It helps to invest in the longevity of life. Like the more that we're stressed, we're not working smarter, we're working harder because we're trying to meet society norms, family norms. That's going to lead to high stress, high blood pressure, all these other health issues that us as a Black community, unfortunately, is very prevalent. So therefore, it promotes for longevity of life. It can help more happiness in life, having somebody to just kind of take some of these loads off and like process through some of these day-to-day stressors, because we all have them. You're right. So this is a great question for me, and I know a lot of our viewers also. Social media. How does social media play into our mental health on a day-to-day basis? Oh my God, tremendously. Like I have clients a lot of the times whenever I'm trying to get people to focus back in on themselves, it's like delete social media, especially like a lot of us millennials, we're comparing ourselves like, well, dang, so-and-so's doing that. Man, I've been working hard. That didn't happen to me. Or even sometimes just the idol of like being on it where, hey, I could be going to the gym. I could be meal prepping. I could be reading my Bible. Or I could be connecting with other humans instead of like looking at other humans do stuff. Like I can actually build that relationship and that interaction with people. So it's very time consuming, and also it can help to alter a lot of our thoughts. And I think a lot of the times we don't understand that like our mind and our thoughts, they control our moods, our behaviors, our interactions and reactions to situations and people. What are some of the plans that we can take to minimize our time on social media? Like, are there like ways we can set timers, or what would you recommend? I always suggest the timer. I love when Instagram came out with that feature, but however, at the same time, I can just like exit out. Right. I know for me personally, and I recently just did it this weekend, like I advocate for like self-care Saturdays and Sundays. So like Saturday, I just deleted the app off my phone. Because, naturally we have, the car's red light, let me pull it up, or I'm waiting for my food, let me just pull it up. Like, it becomes so natural to us. So for me, I just delete it off the phone, or even sometimes I advocate for my clients, like, just leaving your phone on a nightstand, like, after 10 p.m., just, like, completely withdrawing, maybe taking that time to reflect on the day, or before you grab your phone first thing in the morning, maybe wait 30 minutes and do something else before we get on it. Like, start off small. I like that. I am personally guilty of it. The minute I wake up, I'm checking my calendar like,
Ooh, let's see what I got.
And then I'm sure that gets you all anxious and your nerves worked up. And versus, say, maybe taking that time to like, all right, let me practice a moment of gratitude, or hey, I already kind of know what I need to do, but like maybe let me at least reset my day. Like, what moment do I want to take for myself? Do I want to make sure I get up on time to get me some coffee, or a little make sure I actually eat breakfast because I know I have this crazy day ahead of me?
Oh, I love that. So personally, what have you learned most about just Lia? What has Lia learned about herself by being a business owner?
I think I'm pretty resilient and a hustler. Like, and I feel like the pandemic showed me a lot about myself as well, because the pandemic was in, like, you know, we're shut down. I know that a lot of other therapists have been doing telemedicine before. Prior to the pandemic, I was actually opposed to telemedicine. I like to be around people. I like to feel your energy, your vibe, your body language. Like, I can tell if you're nervous, if you're anxious, you know, like I'm big on that. So virtually, it's a little harder. I'm actually not the most tech savvy person. So for me to kind of just be able to, it was just kind of like one day you're working there, it's like, oh no, the office is closed. So it's like, oh, well, wait, what is Zoom? How do I use this? So like to be able to just jump right in, and here we are like 5-6 months after the pandemic and still being able to thrive in something that I was not very versed in. I learned a lot about technology. Like, I got better on social media. So for me, just seeing myself like during a time where a lot of people took a lot of losses, or, you know, weren't able to bounce back, to see that I was able to do that, it kind of made me be like, all right, you got something, girl. You got a little something.
So speaking to you, and this is a fun question, if you could have one person, like your dream client, sit on your couch, who would that be and why?
Ooh, good question.
I know.
My dream client. Do they have to be alive still?
No.
Okay. My dream client. That's a good question.
Isn't it good?
Okay. And then I have to say why too. I would have to go with Malcolm X.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why?
Because I would just want to ask a lot of the questions about kind of what was his thought process and his thinking structure, because to deal with so much adversity and like during such a critical period of time, and to be able to, you know, put your family at risk and change and give up your whole lifestyle for a purpose. And I do believe that everybody's here for a purpose. Just kind of like, how did you do that without like folding? I mean, like, it did get crazy towards the end of his life, like based on like studies, but like still, how did you maintain so long, like without folding? You had a lot of adversities, a lot of people turn on you, your whole support system of like the religion turn on you, and like you still kind of stayed true to like your calling and your purpose. And I think like now that would translate to us, well, for me personally as a millennial, because of the fact that like the world kind of does shape how we move, what we want to do, our expectations. So learning how to stay true to myself and true to my purpose, even though it might not be the societal norm.
I hear you. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes,
thank you so much for joining us. I truly believe that mental health is so important in our community, and I'm happy that we have businesses like you that we can go to and just really get that insightful, unbiased information, like you said. So please tell our viewers where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me at LiaSon Counseling Services. .com. That is www.LiaSon Counseling Service, no S.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Lia the Therapist, LiaTherapist. And I'm also on a lot of platforms like Psychology Today, Therapy for Black Girls.
Yes, Therapy for Black Girls.
Yes, it's a great platform. And you can just search me by my last name, Watson. I'll come up there as well.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Darian Ellis, and I'm here with the Houston 100, powered by the Minority Report. Stay tuned.